Hi, y'all, and welcome to a surprise pop-up middle of the afternoon video. I'm so excited to see a bunch of new people in the chat. It's really exciting to have you here since we're going at a different time. Let me tell you how this video came about. I am exhausted. I was like, I'm going to take the weekend off. I know Vallow Daybell was sentenced yesterday, but I'm just not going to comment on it. Other people can do that. And I'm sure everybody will have their own opinion about it. As you know, here on the channel, we have covered four trials. We've covered Vallow Daybell's Idaho trial, Chad Daybell's Idaho trial, Lori's Brandon Boudreaux trial, and Lori's Charles Vallow trial. So we have covered this in detail. And I thought, I really want to say something, but I'm so exhausted. I'll just maybe later. And then I watched, after covering a different trial all day yesterday, I watched Vallow Daybell's statement. And I thought, I cannot not say something. I am going to have to say something. This is unbelievable. I can't believe what she said at sentencing. That's what we're going to unpack today in our surprise pop-up live stream. So she was doing what is a time-honored tradition in American jurisprudence. It is called an allocution. It's a formal statement that a defendant can make. The defendant makes this right at the time of sentencing, and it's supposed to be a way for the defendant to maybe express remorse, maybe explain something about what they did. The idea behind it is for the defendant to give the judge some reason to give a lesser sentence. Vallow Daybell did just the opposite. She gave the judge every possible reason to give the maximum sentence. And of course, no surprise, that's exactly what she got. So let's dive in. Let's mention a couple of things up front. Number one, Vallow Daybell already serving multiple life sentences in Idaho for the deaths of her two children and for her conspiracy to murder Tammy Daybell, the wife of her present husband, Chad. So those three sentences already imposed in Idaho. Now, more sentences, also life sentences in Arizona. These are for the death of Charles Vallow, her husband, and for the shooting, but not killing, not hitting Brandon Boudreaux, who was married to her niece, Melanie. So let's go ahead and put up Lori's statement. It's not very long, and I think you will see exactly what I mean.
Yes, Your Honor. Can I remain sitting?
Go ahead.
Okay, first of all, let me just start there. This is all snark, so we will just start there. No, you don't remain seated. This is incredibly important. This is your moment to connect with the judge, to make your passionate plea, not just like, okay, here I am. Now, I realize she may feel like there's very little she can do here. She may feel like, look, I'm already serving life sentences. What can this man do to me? Absolutely nothing. But that's really not the point. Anyway, we'll let her go. I'll break in shortly after, too. You'll hear.
Representing myself at these two trials was a constitutional right that I exercised. I could not have done so without my team. Annalena Ramirez, my paralegal, Jeff White, my investigator, and Pamela Hicks and Robert Abernathy, my advisory counsel. I acknowledge their diligence and hard work in helping me exercise that right. They worked tirelessly, and I appreciate them.
Okay. Again, let's jump right in. This is not the Academy Awards. This is not, I'd like to thank my producer. And I'm so grateful to my husband for all his support. Oh, wait, no, actually, he's on death row in Idaho. But this is not the time for all of that. This is the time for your statement to the judge about why your sentence should be reduced. That's what this is about. And instead, she's thanking people around her. It's not that wouldn't be appropriate in context, but it would be after the other things that you had said. It would be a humble, I really do want to say thank you and that I appreciate my team. More, not, at the beginning, and now I'd like to thank. It's just the wrong look.
Representing myself, I have learned much about the law through this process, and I'm grateful for the knowledge that I have gained. Knowledge is eternal, and it is only love and the knowledge that we acquire in this life that we take with us into the next. I have studied the rules of law, case law, and the like. I was amazed and enlightened as my understandings were completely changed from before I started this process. Before this long court journey, I only had basic understanding of the judicial process.
You know this is going south.
I was of the understanding that both parties would be able to get up at a trial and each tell their side of the story, but I soon learned that the rules of law do not allow that.
Actually, they do.
Okay, here's our first clue that things are not going to go well for Lori Vallow Daybell, right? Instead of talking about, oh, well, I would like to say I'm sorry, anything to the victims who have spoken passionately, eloquently about how this has affected their lives, about the multiple murders she's been charged with. Instead, she's talking about, I thought I would be able to present my case and I was not allowed to do that. The judge has already jumped in. If there's any doubt in her mind about whether or not she's headed in the right direction for accomplishing her purpose here, it should be removed. The judge has already jumped in saying, no, that's not right. But she has this prepared and she is not stopping. She is going to go forward with exactly what she said.
The process is much more complex than that. It is not designed for that, although the Constitution of the United States was designed for that. The rules of law negate most of that. As a defendant, I was precluded from calling several witnesses. Other witnesses for the defense were precluded from testifying things that they did witness. As a defendant, I was precluded from asking law enforcement specific questions. I was also precluded from admitting documents that the state turned over to the defense as discovery. The founding fathers of this country did not intend for the rules and laws of trial that have been implemented into this justice system to make it impossible for the accused to defend themselves. Their objective was quite the opposite. They advocated for a fair and impartial and speedy trial.
Okay, the judge and Lori Vallow Daybell have already argued about this the whole trial long. She's wanted to put in evidence that she cannot put in. He has ruled under the rules of evidence, not just randomly, not just because I choose to do this, but under the rules of evidence, you aren't allowed to do that. The fact is, she wanted to put in matters and things that were not allowed under the law. It isn't that he kept her from making her case. It's that she wanted to make a case that did not fit within the constraints provided by the law that all lawyers have to follow. And since she was representing herself, that meant she herself had to follow. She was upset. She had said so about her Idaho lawyers that she had wanted to say and do things that they wouldn't do. I'm willing to bet it's because they were not allowed to say and do those things. And she was hopeful that she would be allowed to say and do those things if she represented herself. In fact, we saw numerous instances of that as we were covering the trial, where the judge would make a ruling and she'd just go back to what she was saying or doing without really paying attention to what the judge's ruling was. There was more than one instance of that. By the way, if you would hit the like button, I would really appreciate it. It helps YouTube notice that we're here and live. And if you aren't subscribed, would love to have you in for more. So the judge has already indicated, not just at this moment in time, he's already done it once in the middle of her talk, but also before that, throughout the trial, the judge has said, this is fair. This is what the rules are. And she doesn't want to follow those rules. And her complaint, instead of, I am sorry for what happened, I recognize that I've been found guilty of this, is her complaint is, it just wasn't fair. And she's going to make that again right here. Remember Alec Murdaugh. And I compare this because I know many people dislike Alec Murdaugh. I'm not using him all the time as an example of what to do. But as an attorney, he had a much better idea of what to do. And when he stood up, his statement was very brief. And he just said, I have done many things wrong. I am sorry for those. One of them is not killing Maggie and the other is not killing Paul. I didn't do that. I can't say I did. And he sat down. That was it. And instead, Lori is going into how this judge wasn't fair and the rulings the judge made aren't fair. This is the exact opposite of what she should be doing here.
It was never their intention for people to be sitting in jail for years and years waiting to be tried while the state continues to try to gather new evidence against them. This is what our unjustice system has become. Men and women sitting in jail for years and waiting to be heard. The constitutional right of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness thwarted. My case is not unique. There are many here in Maricopa County that have been in jail almost 10 years waiting to be tried. The conditions of this jail are not for long-term confinement. You do not have access to direct medical care. You do not have access to proper nutrition. You do not have access to sunlight. You do not have access to decent dental care. In fact, when you have been at Maricopa County Jail for 1 year, they come to your door and offer you a vitamin D supplement because you have not been in the sun in a year. Imagine this for years. It is inhumane. The state of Arizona, according to the laws, since I am a prisoner from another state, only had 90 days in which to give me 2 speedy trials.
Let me stop there for a minute. So she clearly, and from other things she said at trial, sort of fancies herself as being someone who is now going to be a crusader for the rights of those in jail and prison. It's not that that's wrong. That's a good thing in general, but this is not the moment in time for it. This is not a platform for her to talk about her general beliefs, things she thinks should be changed in the world. This is a time for her to make a statement to the judge about sentencing. And instead, she's talking about something entirely irrelevant. It's as if she stood up and said, "And by the way, I really believe in, people not being cruel to animals. I'd like you to give to this or that." It's not that that's a bad thing. It's just that this is not the moment in time for that to happen. And now she's going to talk about the speedy trial issue.
That's 3 months. I arrived here at MCSO on November 30th, 2023. That is over a year and a half, 20 months specifically. That is over 6 times the amount of time it should have taken for me to have these 2 trials. But Arizona leaves this law up to the judge's discretion, and the judge has the power to extend your trial at his will. Even though the 6th and 14th Amendment of the Constitution of the United States proclaims otherwise. 98% of all cases in Maricopa County end in plea deals where the accused plead guilty. And I'll tell you why. It's so miserable in that jail that they plead guilty so they can go to the prison and have decent food, decent sunlight, and a chance to live. 2% of all cases in Maricopa County that actually do go to trial, of all the cases that actually do go to trial, only 0.2 end in acquittal. That is 1 out of 1,200 people who go to trial go home.
That's actually not the correct stat.
Okay, so again, judges jumped in. Judges told her, I don't like that. You're not helping your case here. If anything, you're making things worse. And she is going to barrel on. Now, as to the stat, I can't say what the Maricopa stats are. I don't know who's right, Lori or the judge. Obviously, the judge would probably have a little better access to that. In general, she's right that when a prosecutor brings a case and takes it to trial, the chances that they win are overwhelming, well above 90%. But not 0.2%, not 1 in 1,200. That's not the stats I've seen in Pew Research, but it is overwhelming. But of course, primarily that's because the prosecutor is able to select the case. It's not the only reason. There are reasons that aren't appropriate, but one key reason is that the prosecutor gets to pick which cases am I going to prosecute, which am I not going to prosecute, where do I have the evidence, where do I not, where do I want to make a plea deal, because I don't really know if I can prove a big a big charge, maybe I can prove a little one. So those are decisions that prosecutors make every day. And she's not wrong that the chances are overwhelming, but the reason they're overwhelming is not just due to the system, but it's also due to the selection process by prosecutors. And that would be a valid reason. But setting all that aside, I mean, not even getting into the weeds of that, we're not supposed to be here. This is not the moment in time to talk about that. This is an entirely different purpose, is why she's here. And she's missed that entirely.
Is that a system designed to convict you? The rules of law governing trial assure that. As you witnessed in my 2 cases, the judge supports the state to achieve this outcome. So here we are, the state of Arizona has accomplished its intention. 1, to extradite me from Idaho. 2, to convict me. And 3, to add to my ledger of lifetimes.
I like that phrase.
The state used countless taxpayers' money to transport me, house me, millions of dollars to wrongly convict me on 2 charges that they made sure judicially that I could not defend myself against. I know political aspirations, raises, and job promotions were at stake. So congratulations.
What? What? She did not just say that. I mean, I cannot believe she said that. That is exactly 100% the opposite of the reason she's there. You might be there to persuade the judge. Maybe you don't think he's ever going to give you anything less than the maximum life sentence, but that's your reason for being there. Your reason for being there is not to antagonize the judge, to anger the judge, to convince the judge to give you the absolute maximum. If the judge had any doubt, he's now been accused, more or less, and I mean, she didn't name him, but she said political aspirations were part of the conviction of the 2 convictions I just had. Never mind that the actual decision was made by 12 jurors, but no, it's political aspirations, raises, and job promotions. She's basically calling out the prosecutor and the judge. Those are the only people who could possibly be included in the political aspirations, raises, and job promotions. Jurors don't get them. So she's saying the judge and the prosecutor were doing this because they had self-interest in mind. This was all political, and they were trying to get some gain out of it. Even if you believed that, why would you say that in this context? I can't believe she said that. I have to assume that her attorneys are not reading this at all. And it's this moment, there was such a good moment. Let me see if this is the one where the woman sitting right over Lori's shoulder turns and looks at her as aghast as I am.
On 2 charges that they made sure judicially that I could not defend myself against. I know political aspirations, raises, and job promotions were at stake. So congratulations. I was convicted in the media.
See the woman? She turns, she's like, oh, I can't believe that you just said that. I cannot believe that. You did not just say that. But yes, she did. She just said that. And the woman is thinking, I have never, and I don't know what her position is. If she's a clerk, she must not be a court reporter, but whatever her job is, I know she is thinking, I have never heard an allocution quite like this before. This would be a first.
Long before I went to trial, we all know that there was no way for me to come to Arizona and get a fair, impartial, or speedy trial. And now that fact has been proven. The state of Arizona brought me here when I was already serving 5 life sentences. Now I will serve 7 life sentences. Will that be enough? Will that be enough?
Who is she asking? The judge? So she's telling the judge in advance, I already think you're going to give me a full life sentence for each of these convictions that I've just had. So I'm not really trying to appeal to you. You have no influence over my life. I'm already going to spend it in prison. There's nothing more you can do to me, which does put the judge in a difficult position. He has no real way to discipline her other than maybe have her removed from the courtroom or something like that. He doesn't have control over her life. She's correct. Her life has already been reduced to life within the four walls of a jail cell, and that's what it's going to be forever, or a prison cell, I should say. So she's saying, you know, what do I care? You're going to do that, and I don't really care about you. I'm just going to say what I have to say. If she has talked a great deal about her desire to help other women in the jail or prison, and that she wants to be able to help them in various ways. One way not to be helped is to follow this example for how to make an allocution after you have been convicted and when you're at your sentencing hearing.
I want everyone to know that I mourn with all of you. I am sorry for your pain. Losing those close to you is painful, and I acknowledge all of the pain, and I do empathize. I feel it too. If I was accountable for these crimes, I would acknowledge it, and I would let you know how sorry I was. But I have...
Do you consider that an apology? Clearly no one in the courtroom does, and she's even saying it's not. She's saying, I'm not accountable for this. I can't be held accountable for this, and so I'm not going to say I'm sorry. Again, total wrong look, going to infuriate the judge.
Witnessed for myself what it is like to leave this mortal existence and return home when I temporarily died in the hospital giving birth to my daughter, Tylee. When our spirit leaves our body and we return to the pure energy state in the spirit world, we immediately no longer feel hate, anger, envy, or resentment. I promise you. We come to earth to experience these emotions, but these emotions are immediately replaced by a blissful, heightened sense of peace, love, joy, and well-being. The moment our spirit leaves our body, we feel more alive than we ever did on earth. And we have deep empathy for those we have left behind. We do not want our loved ones to grieve or be sad. We know that they will because that's a mortal experience, but they come to comfort us. We immediately know the minute you leave your body, you are aware of who you are, why you came to earth, and that we will all be together again soon, and that this separation is only temporary. All of the cares and pressures and problems immediately melt away. And after comforting our loved ones, we move on with our eternal life, continuing to pursue knowledge and wisdom and understanding in eternal progression. Heaven is a very busy and happy place.
Before she gets into the busy and happy, I want to say just a little bit. So this is the first time that anything she said so far has sort of resembled what she said in Idaho, because what she said in Idaho was very different. It convinced a lot of people that she might well be having mental crises, that she might be under some kind of mental health problem that was preventing her from even being able to understand things. Here, she seems very clear. She's directly talking to the judge. She has a good grasp of what's going to happen, of what she's heard. She is completely unrepentant. She says, I'm not accountable for this. I'm not going to say I'm sorry because I'm not accountable. And then she taught, but this is the first time we're hearing a little bit of the religious overtones that we heard when she spoke at her sentencing hearing in Idaho, when she talked about her convictions for JJ, Tylee, and Tammy's deaths. So at that point, it was a sort of different feel. This is more like an explanation of what she believes in general, but there's more.
Where everyone is engaged in projects that they love to do. That includes Joshua, that includes Tylee, that includes Tammy, that includes Charles. No one there, none of these people are seeking revenge or justice. So although we miss our loved ones, and I do too, I assure you that they are busy.
This is so weird. This is exactly what she did in Idaho, where she talked about Tammy being busy. She had talked to Tammy, and Tammy had visited her, and Tammy was happy and busy. And it was so off key for the situation. But again, it's like, oh, well, they're busy. So who really cares? What's the harm if they were killed? I mean, after all, they're busy now. And what more could there be?
And happy and peaceful. I have felt the kind of contentment that they feel now, and I try to duplicate that here. So whether I'm giving 5 life sentences or 7 life sentences, I will continue to try to uplift and help and strengthen those around me. It does not matter where you serve on earth as long as you do it with love. It doesn't matter if I'm given 7 lifetimes or the death penalty like my husband. What things look impossible to man are easy for Jesus.
So I don't even disagree with her about what she's saying, in that she's saying her service could be anywhere, that God could use her in any situation. I don't disagree with that, but let's keep going.
Jesus tells us in the Bible not to judge, but this whole entire justice system is just that.
But that's the point of the justice system. The entire point of the system is to judge, because here on earth, there has to be a resolution of the disputes between people and of the crimes that are committed. There has to be. That is the entire function of the justice system, is to judge. And to say, oh, well, how dare the justice system judge, is to miss the entire point of why it exists.
So I want you to watch, because God will show the world great miracles. I will continue to love everyone I come in contact with, and I will turn this battle over to God. If this is God's battle, then the math doesn't matter. 7 lifetimes or the death penalty doesn't matter. God's miracles will abound. When a soldier goes off to war, he is a soldier. When a soldier comes back from war, he is a warrior. And Jesus is in the prisons. He is turning his soldiers into warriors. For the prisoners shall go free. Sometimes victory doesn't look like victory until it's finished. Prisoners who have been told that they will never go free will be free. And I want you to expect miracles, and I want you to watch for them, because you will see. We fear not what man can do, because God's warriors surround us. When the battle is relentless, and this one has been for over 6 years, remember, God is building his army of warriors in the prison system. He is turning Sauls into Pauls. When Jesus is sending his servants into the prisons to prepare his warrior team, we will be there only until this purpose is complete, and then the warriors will walk free. We are redeemed by Jesus Christ, so we are free right now. But his chains will break, prison walls will fall, the power and majesty of God will be revealed. When Jesus is ready, he will call his warriors from the prisons, and we will walk free, and we will serve him.
I personally find that sort of threatening. It seems to me what she's saying is a very dangerous message preached inside the prison system. If she gathers everybody together and convinces them that we are warriors, we are fighting for God, just as she convinced numerous people around her before, we are fighting and doing this for God. We are united. We will go free. We will break out. The walls will fall. Imagine an entire prison catalyzed around that. That could be a very dangerous situation for the prison system itself, for the guards, for people outside the prison. So I think that this right here suggests that she must be kept from doing things like teaching. I don't know how on earth they will prevent her from proselytizing just through basic communication, but it certainly seems to me like this is a pretty dangerous philosophy. And the way she's saying it so loudly with such passion. She's more or less calling these people, we will rise up. You can almost see her yelling that to an entire crowd. That is truly disturbing and very dangerous. I want to thank Jackie P. for the gifted lawyer membership. Good to see you at this live, Jackie. And a neuropsych Zena agrees with me. Continues to remain dangerous. I really do. I am shocked by those words. They are very much a call to arms in the sense of whatever means people in prison might have. That's what it sounds like. It's very militant sounding. The word she's using, like warriors and walls falling, it's not that those exact words might not be in the Bible, but it's the context and the use of them that is concerning to me.
I will quote Moroni, the great prophet, from Moroni 8:16, and he says, "Behold, I speak with boldness, having authority from God. I fear not what man can do, for perfect love casteth out all fear." And in Ether, Moroni says, "And now, if I have no authority for these things, judge ye. For ye shall know that I have authority when ye shall see me, and we shall stand before God at the last day."
Do you have anything else?
I'm going to do his first sentence because I think it's going to make the point I wanted to make. This is first couple of sentences, paragraph maybe.
In this day and age where truth seems to matter little to our talking heads on the news and to our politicians, I'm proud that this trial court and through our jury trials, we draw on the collective wisdom of jurors to determine the truth. As I said in my jury instructions to the jury, it is their job to determine the truth. The defendant spent several minutes talking about statistics and being prevented from presenting her side, and that is not the truth.
Okay, so I'm going to pull that out and just talk to y'all for a minute. Okay, there we go. So as you can see from his reaction and from the fact that he did, in fact, as she suspected, give her 2 life sentences, he was in no way persuaded by anything that she said. And in fact, he believed it. He called it, he said, that's not the truth. What you said is not the truth. You were given the chance to present your case. And 2 different juries found unanimously in very short order that you have been behind these 2 murders, that you have been a participant in, well, 1 murder and 1 attempted. And you have been behind that. And not just these 2 juries, there's another jury in Idaho that found you guilty as well of 3, 2 murders and another conspiracy to murder. And the judge goes on to say, this is a decision that is made within the rule of law. It's been made by the jury. And yes, I'm giving you 2 life sentences. But Lori Vallow Daybell's entire approach to this was the opposite of what normally this is supposed to do. This is supposed to be the chance to appeal to the judge, to make your plea, to state your reasons why the judge should maybe show mercy. She did just the opposite. She intentionally goaded and antagonized him. She suggested that he might have made decisions for political reasons or raises. She suggested that he was unfair in what he had allowed her to present in court. She said specifically to the people around her, the victims who had spoken movingly about their loss, "I'm not sorry. I would be sorry if I were accountable for this, but I'm not, so I'm just not sorry." There's nothing in that is what is supposed to be happening in this particular context. She's supposed to be looking at the judge and talking about whatever reasons would give him a possible suggestion, means, reason, anything to go a little bit lower on the sentence. If he had any thought of not giving her 2 life sentences, and probably he did not, then clearly this was a situation where he was going to do it just because of her approach and her attitude. She was showing without question, she had no repentance, no remorse for what had happened, that she specifically said she's not accountable for this. So she does not believe she bears any responsibility for this. In addition, she was speaking in a very dangerous way, in my opinion, about galvanizing prisoners with religious beliefs around the idea that they would be free even within this lifetime, and and calling them warriors. All of this was so opposite of what was supposed to be happening here. I want to say welcome to Vera, who is a new member, and Sweet Lorraine is the woman. She's referring, I believe, to Sweet Lorraine was concerned about the woman who was sitting next to Lori Vallow Daybell and was having motions and so forth. So thank you for your comment about that and for your super chat. All right. Well, I wanted to make it kind of short, so we won't do questions. We'll be live again. I am covering one of the most interesting cases I have ever covered, ever. And I covered the Lori Vallow Daybell trial, so you know what I'm talking about. The James Craig Colorado dentist murder trial. I have never seen a trial like this. Every day is wilder than the next. We are on day 10 of the trial. I've got a whole playlist. Be sure to go back and look at that. It's unbelievable. You definitely want to follow this trial. And I will be live again Monday. We moved our time a little later, roughly 8:15-ish, because the Colorado time zone means that they go on trial till about 7 o'clock. So about 8:15, I'll be going live on Monday, and I will see you then.